It's the next episode of Survivor China, and last time, Kiana officially joined the game. Oh. Never mind. Kiana officially visited the game to say hello to the Feng tribe for winning a boat reward for the day. However, Kiana wasn't the only idol present. There was also a hidden immunity idol found by Hannah in her bathroom. On Shu, Julian started to make a campaign against Daniela and David, hoping to save himself from any future tribal councils. At the immunity challenge, Shu won immunity, and Feng was sent for their first test as a swap tribe. On one hand, Alec rallied the snakes up to split the vote on Adam and Hannah. However, multiple snakes did not like how much control Alec had in the game, so people like Jeannie, Annalise, and Rachel flipped. With Jeannie spilling the plan to Steph, the plan was then leaked to Alec by Steph. At Tribal Council, Alec shocked everyone by using his redirect advantage, taking all votes cast on him and putting them onto Annalise. In the end, it was Annalise blindsided by Alec. 14 players remain, and we're reaching the halfway point. Who will go next? It's night 14, and at Feng, everyone is at camp, many still shaken by Alec's redirect advantage play. Adam congratulates Alec on his all-star moment at Tribal Council. Alec smiles and says he appreciates the praise. In confessional, Jeannie sighs and says she's really annoyed that Alec is still in the game. He has proven time and time again that he will get his way, and it's annoying to watch unfold. Even with the idol in her pocket, she feels terrified to go against him now. He will find out she flipped, and it won't be pretty. Rachel then asks Alec where he found the redirect advantage, and Alec says it was hidden after Garth and Vindrith won the first exile reward. In confessional, Steph says she's really happy with the latest result. Alec received 5 votes, but he transferred all of those votes onto Annalise while also placing his own vote on her. Herself and Betty voted for Hannah in the case Annalise played her idol. The fact that she didn't probably means her idol wasn't real all along. 15 minutes later, Alec pulls Rachel aside, telling him he wants to chat a bit so they know how things will look going forward. In confessional, Alec says that he wants to pull Rachel back in with the snakes. It's possible that Annalise was a strong pull for him to be anti-snakes, but now that she's gone, Rachel might be swayed back onto his side. Rachel tells Alec he's very startled by everything that happened tonight. He actually knew Annalise's idol wasn't real, but he decided to keep it a secret. Alec says he understands. If anything, it shows he's a loyal player, and that's someone people want to align with, including himself. Rachel tells Alec he has no problem working with him. He doesn't have a lot going on with Hannah and Adam at the moment. In confessional, Rachel says he's not dumb enough to trust Alec. However, he'll just play it up a bit and act like they are good. In reality, Alec is a huge threat that needs to go soon. It's day 15 in the game, and on Shu, Daniela and Maria pop pimples on David's back as he lays down on the camp log. Shelby makes disgusted noises, telling them to get a room. Daniela then says out loud she popped a juicy one, and Shelby immediately screams and leaps out of camp. Julian then also leaves camp, and in confessional, Julian says that he needs to regroup with Shelby to continue building a strong relationship with her. She's a key part of his plan to flip on Daniela and David, the 2 heads of the Phoenix Originals. Julian then catches up to Shelby, asking her if they can chat for a few minutes. Shelby tells him to be quick so they aren't caught, so Julian tells her he feels increasingly worried about the bond between Daniela, David, and Maria. He feels like they are close friends while Roland is just going to do whatever Maria wants. Shelby nods and says it's possible, and in confessional, Shelby admits she doesn't want to say too much to Julian. Although he's right about the current dynamics on this tribe, she doesn't want to give him anything that could get her in trouble. For all she knows, he could take everything she tells him and run it to Daniela, David, and Maria. However, she'd like to think Julian is being for real when he says he's targeting Daniela and David. Those 2 are way too high in power, so she'd like to knock them down some pegs. Julian then tells Shelby that his next plan of action is to get Roland and Maria together and tell them why they should work with him. Shelby says it sounds good, so she splits off from Julian. Julian later goes to the well and finds Roland, so he asks him if he can go get Maria from camp so he can talk with the two of them. Roland says sure, so he walks back to camp. In confessional, Julian says that he is going to need to pray for a miracle on this campaign because it's a huge stretch that it'll work. These people are extremely close to one another, so splitting them apart will be difficult. However, it's not impossible to do it. Their relationships are like permanent marker that can still be wiped off with some smudges left behind. Roland and Maria then show up at the well, so Julian lets them know he's trying to navigate the game like many others, which is all about survival and loyalty. He doesn't have anyone he currently has loyalty to, except for Garth. He wants to survive, just like anyone else, so he's looking at the two of them and Shelby for a possible alliance of sorts. Maria and Roland remain quiet, and Maria decides to speak up, telling Julian it's going to be difficult to trust him because he voted for her before. Julian says he really apologizes for doing that. He feels like he reset his game now that Sarah isn't here anymore. He was very close to her, so whatever she did was what he did. In confessional, Maria says she doesn't really see herself flipping on Daniela. That's her girl in here. She won't lie that she feels like Daniela is now closer to David, but should that even be a worry right now? She's just looking at the current stage of the game, and there are still 14 people left. Working with Julian right now feels super unnecessary for her game. Later on, Julian is with Garth, filling him in that he talked with Shelby, Roland, and Maria about flipping on Daniela and David. Garth asks if there's any luck with them flipping, and Julian says he's unsure. They don't really have a choice but to trust them right now. Meanwhile, Maria is with Daniela, warning her that Julian is trying his best to get in with some phoenixes, including herself and Roland. Daniela says it's expected. Anyone on the outs would campaign to stay. Maria tells her there's no chance of a flip happening. If anything, they now need to decide if keeping Julian is smart or not. Clearly, he's a much more active player than Garth. Daniela says she feels indifferent right now because no matter what, Garth and Julian will be loyal to their snake friends once everyone merges. It doesn't matter who stays at that point. In confessional, Daniela says that she feels very solid with her tribe right now. She sees herself, Maria, and David on top. Roland is 4th in the alliance, and Shelby is 5th. That leaves out Julian and Garth, who are just kind of there as easy votes. Sometimes, the easy moves are the best moves. Although they are boring moves, she feels like there's no reason for her to take anyone out from her alliance. Back on Fung, Betty approaches Hannah and apologizes for voting her last night. Hannah sighs and tells her it really shocked her and it felt like a personal attack. Betty tells her that was not the intention at all, but Hannah cuts in and says it was evident she did not care about their relationship in the game. There was no reason for her to vote her over Adam or Annalise. In confessional, Betty says she's pretty sad that her and Hannah don't see eye to eye anymore. She voted Hannah as part of a minority split vote plan since Annalise had a rumored idol. She kind of wishes it was Adam now, but it's too late to change that. Betty then tells Hannah she's just very happy Annalise is gone for good now. Hannah asks her what that means as for her next target, and Betty says she's an open book now. She doesn't have any priorities anymore, so that's why she's approaching her now. Hannah says she's not sure how to feel about this, considering what happened last night with Alec. He still remains the obvious threat. Betty says she understands Alec is a threat, but maybe he's better to keep as a shield for Merge. Maybe they should go after someone like Jeannie who doesn't have any solid loyalty to anyone. In confessional, Hannah says she's ripping her ears out the more Betty speaks with her. It just gets worse and worse. First, Betty tries to apologize in the fakest voice ever. Then, she says she doesn't have any priorities in the game, yet she proceeds to actively protect Alec's name. It gets worse. She then suggests Jeannie as the vote, and of course, Jeannie approached herself and Adam yesterday to form a trust group. So no, she won't be voting for Jeannie, and no, she won't trust Betty any longer. Steph and Jeannie meanwhile meet up, and Steph asks her how she feels about Alec now. Jeannie says she would be lying if she said she wasn't nervous. Steph tells her there's really nothing to worry about with him. He's not someone who holds grudges like that. Jeannie says she personally disagrees. Alec definitely held a grudge against Ebony when she voted him at the first tribal council. Steph tells her there's other options for Alec right now, including Hannah and Adam. They are his first choices to vote out next. They are the ones associated with the Phoenix Originals. In confessional, Steph says she needs Jeannie to get back with the Snakes because it's crucial for all of them to finally stick together. She really feels like the next to go has to be between Adam or Hannah. Otherwise, the original Phoenix tribe will have the numbers starting next round. Jeannie tells Steph she will think about it, but she's still leaning towards trusting Hannah and Adam over Alec. Rachel later finds Hannah alone in a pond, so he joins in, asking her if she's okay. Hannah tells him she's just thinking about the game right now. She's desperate to take out Alec. Rachel says she should continue thinking this way. Alec wants her and Adam out. He just pitched that to him last night. Hannah asks if that means he was approached right after tribal, and Rachel nods. Hannah calls Alec super desperate, and he's not even hiding it now. Rachel tells her he's not buying anything Alec is selling. In confessional, Rachel says he wants to strengthen his relationship with Hannah and Adam because he truly wants to move forward with them the most. Alec is a huge threat, especially shown through his spectacular redirect advantage play. Hannah then tells Rachel that Alec is a goner next, and Rachel says he's sure of it. Jeannie then talks with Adam alone, letting him know she's still good with him and Hannah in their trio. Adam says the same, telling her he's still looking at voting out Alec. Jeannie tells him they need to keep the four that voted together last time, which means they need Rachel's vote to stay with them. Adam tells her he's sure Rachel will be loyal to them. He's just worried about the potential of an idol in the game. What if Annalise actually had the idol and it's re-hidden now? Jeannie tells him she doubts Annalise's idol claim was a real claim. She 100% would have played it after hearing that all votes on Alec would go on her. In confessional, Jeannie tilts her head, admitting she felt a bit awkward when Adam started talking about idols. She obviously has one in her pocket since the start, so there's no re-hidden idol in the game. Not unless the Phoenix idol gets played since they are on the Phoenix tribe's camp. Either way, she doesn't want to ever slip up about her idol because it could be the reason she wins this game. Jeannie then hugs Adam, telling him they'll chat more another time. Adam says they're cool with each other, so they split up. It's day 16, and both tribes arrive to the challenge mats. Justin confirms Annalise was last voted out from Feng. He then takes back the immunity statue from Shu and claims that immunity is back up for grabs. For today's challenge, both tribes will start off with 2 tribe members competing. One tribe mate will go in a push-up position while the other crosses a balance beam and comes back. Then, they will enter a push-up position while their partner crosses and comes back. If at any point a crosser falls off the beam or the person in push-up position falls to the floor, they will be replaced with another tribe member. This will continue until there are no more replacements available. The last tribe standing with at least 2 members still in the challenge will win immunity, save from the vote. The losers will go to tribal tonight and vote out the 9th person from Survivor China. Both tribes sort out their first pairs, and on Feng, it's Betty and Hannah to begin, while on Shu, it's Daniela and David. The challenge then begins, with Hannah and David in push-up position while Betty and Daniela begin crossing their balance beams. Daniela falls off straight away, meaning she is out of the challenge. Betty continues crossing her beam, and makes it across. She then starts making her way back slowly, and she finally reaches back. Maria then steps up in place of Daniela for the next round, and now her and Betty are in push-up position. Hannah and David begin crossing, and it doesn't take long for David to fall off. Hannah meanwhile crosses with ease, and then she comes back not too long after. The entire Feng tribe cheers the two girls on, and Betty tells Hannah they should remain unbeatable now. Julian now takes place for David, going into push-up position alongside Hannah. Betty and Maria begin crossing their balance beams, and they do so successfully. Betty returns pretty easily, while Maria takes her time. She also gets back across, so the pairs now switch roles. Julian and Hannah start crossing their beams, and Hannah gets across very easily once again. Julian goes slowly, and Hannah meanwhile reaches back to Betty, allowing her to rest. Maria remains in push-up position while Julian gets to the other side of the beam. He then slowly walks back, and Maria's arms begin to shake. Thankfully for her, Julian returns, so both pairs swap roles again. Betty and Maria begin crossing their beams, and they do successfully. As they cross back, Betty almost loses her balance, but she recovers. Maria meanwhile crosses back first, but Betty is right behind. The roles swap again, and Hannah crosses very quickly while Julian goes slow. Maria yells out to Julian to hurry up, but Julian continues going at his own pace. Hannah returns back to Betty, allowing her to rest. Maria then drops to the floor, meaning she is out of the challenge. Julian has to continue crossing, and he reaches the other side. He slowly walks back, but eventually falls down. That means Shu is now down to 3 members while Feng has all 8. Shelby curses out loud and says they stand no chance now. Hannah and Shelby are now in push-up position, while Betty and Garth start crossing their beams for the next round. Garth loses his balance right away and he falls, meaning he is out. Betty crosses successfully, and then she makes her way back with ease. Roland is the final person joining in for Shu, so he goes into push-up position alongside Betty, while Shelby and Hannah start crossing their beams. Shelby teeters around, really struggling on the beam. Hannah gets across easily, and she begins making her way back. Shelby barely makes any progress as she struggles to keep herself balanced. Hannah then returns to Betty, leaving just Shelby to get across and back. Roland remains solid in push-up position, but it doesn't matter as Shelby eventually hops off the beam, meaning Feng wins immunity in a complete blowout of a challenge. They all celebrate and praise Betty and Hannah, while Shu feels miserable and embarrassed. Everyone is eventually back on the mats, and Justin calls up Feng to grab their immunity statue. Hannah heads up and her whole tribe cheers. Justin confirms none of Feng will go home. As for Shu, someone will be the 9th person eliminated from Survivor China. With that, everyone makes their way back to camp, and in confessional, Shelby says that today's challenge performance was super embarrassing from the entire tribe. However, challenges aren't going to matter pretty soon. The merge is approaching, so these votes are going to be based on strategy. Tonight, she wants to figure out a way to keep Julian and Garth so she can potentially work with them going forward. However, they don't have the numbers as long as Maria and Roland stay loyal to Daniela and David. Back at Shu's camp, everyone feels embarrassed after the blowout loss, and Daniela says the balanced beam was harder than it looked. Shelby admits she is surprised she lasted so long on the beam, considering she was rocking back and forth so much. In confessional, Julian says that this loss hits him the worst. Right now, there are 5 original Phoenix members that can team up and split the votes between himself and Garth. He has already done some groundwork to convince some people to flip sides, and he specifically focused on Shelby, Maria, and Roland as the swing votes. Daniela, David, Shelby, and Maria are away from camp, and Daniela asks if anyone is opposed to voting out Julian tonight. Everyone shakes their head, and Maria says she's pretty sure Julian and Garth are voting Daniela tonight, based on how they have approached her lately. In confessional, Shelby claims she did not come on to Survivor to play a mundane, low-key game. She came here to make a mark and turn this game into the Shelby Dobbins game. She's the main character here and nobody else. Her first big move is on the horizon. She wants to take out Daniela tonight. If she can take her out, she is the new queen out here. Shelby then tells the group she's down to split the vote in the case an idol gets played. Daniela then says that herself and Maria can do Garth, while Shelby, David, and Roland do Julian. David says he's good with that, and so do Maria and Shelby. Meanwhile at camp, Julian, Garth, and Roland sit by the fire, and Julian asks Roland if he would be willing to make the move they have been discussing about lately. Roland sighs and says he honestly doesn't know yet. He's still considering his options carefully. Julian tells him that this might be the only time to take out such a powerful player in Daniela. If she goes home, a new strong alliance forms between them. In confessional, Roland says that he's only ever going to protect Maria and Adam in this game. Those are his two closest people. Everyone else is merely just a number or enemy. For some time now, he has been concerned about the Daniela and David duo, mainly because they have a lot of control over Maria's vote. Part of him wants to make a move against them tonight so he can keep Maria closer to him. Later on, Julian bumps into Shelby, and Shelby says she's glad they ran into each other. She then tells him that she wants to pull the trigger tonight and take out Daniela. Julian then tells her he's very worried they don't have Roland and Maria. Those two will never split up their votes, so to pull off this blindside, they need both of their votes. Shelby then tells Julian she will work on Roland and Maria. It's not over for him yet. In confessional, Julian says he's really glad Shelby is on board with this plan to take out Daniela. Hopefully, she can do a lot of successful work to flip over Roland and Maria to their side. With the scramble at Shu continuing, Roland and Maria chat about what they should do tonight. Roland asks Maria what her gut tells her, and Maria says she feels like they should just take out Julian. It's the easiest move that also benefits their game in the upcoming merge. In confessional, Maria says she knows Daniela is in Julian's sights, but she doesn't benefit from her leaving. It's just concerning knowing that Roland is a bit eager to make a move tonight. She can tell the vibe is off with him, and she doesn't like that one bit. Roland then scratches his head, and Maria tells him he scares her when he acts super doubtful about a plan. Roland apologizes and says he doesn't want to come off that way. Maria asks him what's bugging him, and Roland says he just doesn't trust Daniela or David. He can sense them creating their own little alliance in Merge, just to take out original Phoenixes one after the other. Maria tells him it's not happening, but Roland says it's just a gut feeling in him. Shelby then finds Maria and Roland together, so she quickly joins in and asks if they are talking about this vote tonight. Roland says he's unsure what the right move is tonight. Shelby says she can tell they are on the fence on what to do tonight, and she too feels like this Julian vote-off isn't the right move for them. Maria covers her face and says she would rather stick to the plan and keep their alliance strong. Shelby tells Maria there's no alliance. It's the Daniela and David show right now, and people refuse to see it that way. Maria tells Shelby she can't flip on Daniela like this, and then she begins to get emotional. Roland hugs her, and Shelby tells Maria that they don't have to vote Daniela then. They can do David if that's easier. Maria then tries to control her emotions, and then she says she just doesn't see a reason to vote either of them out. Shelby tells her once again that Daniela and David are always going to prioritize each other. They know about their little showmans, hence they have their own little duo as well. In confessional, Shelby says that the plan has to switch now from Daniela to David because it's the only way Maria will ever consider flipping. Without Maria's vote, Roland doesn't flip either, meaning Julian goes home. She has to ensure that Daniela gets weakened at the very least, and that means stripping away her number one ally. Back at camp, Daniela, David, Julian, and Garth hang around, and Daniela asks David if he knows where the rest are. David shrugs, and in confessional, David admits that tonight almost feels too easy. While the original Phoenix tribe plans to split the votes between Julian and Garth, it can take one switched vote to take someone out from their majority. Daniela then asks Julian and Garth if they know where the others are, but Julian says he has been here at camp for the majority of the afternoon, so he isn't sure. Daniela then says she will go look for them. As Daniela walks through the wild, she eventually sees Shelby, Maria, and Roland talking, and she joins in. She asks what's up, and then she immediately sees Maria's panicked, red face. Shelby says it's nothing, but Daniela asks Maria why she looks like she could cry right now. Maria remains silent, and Roland tells Daniela that they straight up don't know if they can trust David. Daniela's jaw drops, and she asks what he means by that. Before he can answer, she asks if they are seriously considering flipping on David tonight, and Roland says yes. In confessional, Daniela says she thought she was in a dream at first because she couldn't believe what she was hearing from Roland's mouth. They actually want to vote David out tonight. But, for what reason? She needs to get to the bottom of it right now and make sure nothing switches. Daniela then asks why they want to vote David tonight, and Shelby says that David has been super close to her since day one, so it's apparent they will stick together and merge and potentially flip sides to have their new army over there. Daniela asks if she's being serious right now, and Shelby says it's a shared opinion by all three of them. Daniela calls this extremely dumb, claiming that it's an excuse they are making up at this point. There's no reason for herself and David to flip and merge. They have always remained Phoenix strong. Shelby tells Daniela she truly can't get past this feeling that she and David would have voted her out over Kevin before the swap. Things just don't add up to her anymore. Daniela tells Shelby that's not even close to the truth. It was always between Kevin or Hannah at that point. Maria then tells Shelby and Roland she can't go through with this David vote. Roland asks her if she's sure, and Daniela death stares Roland. She asks Roland why he's doing this, and Roland tells Daniela he's not against her. He's just unsure if he can trust David. Daniela then tells him that if they are all against David, they are essentially against her because they don't trust her own connection to David. It means they are bothered with the both of them. Just like how Shelby expressed her concerns right now. Shelby then tells them that they are just going to have to go with their gut tonight, and Daniela calls this super ridiculous. In confessional, Maria says she doesn't know what to do anymore. All of this has just skyrocketed to level 10 drama, and she's struggling to decide whether it's best to stick to the Phoenix Alliance or flip on it. Shelby and Roland seem to want David gone, but she doesn't have any interest in doing that. She would rather vote out Julian. But now, it's not as simple because she has to keep her relationship with Roland close, and she doesn't want to lose him over tonight's vote debate. It's night 16, and Shu arrives to tribal council and sits down. Justin welcomes them back, admitting that he did not expect such a blowout at today's challenge. He asks Julian what made that challenge so difficult for this tribe, and Julian says that most of them have big feet, so that balance beam was a pain to cross. The longer they took, the less stable the other person was in the push-up position. Justin then points out to Daniela that there are 5 original Phoenix members here tonight. He asks her if these 5 are sticking together tonight, and Daniela says she thought that was the case until recently. David immediately looks at Daniela and whispers to her what's wrong, and Daniela whispers back to him. Justin then asks Maria what the whispering might be about behind her, and Maria says she actually isn't surprised there is whispering right now. There has been a lot of debate regarding this vote, and it's shocking to her that it's getting extremely dramatic right before a potential merge. David then proceeds to whisper to Roland, and Daniela gets up out of her seat to whisper to Maria. Justin then asks Shelby if the whispers are concerning her or if being a Phoenix helps tonight, and Shelby looks behind her and asks if anyone wants to fill her in on what's going on. David tells Shelby to stick to what they discussed earlier. Once Daniela sits back down, Justin asks her what the whispering means for this vote now, and Daniela says that things may or may not be switching. This game forces you to think very strategically and methodically, and sometimes, last-minute switches are needed. Shelby squints and she whispers to Maria, and Justin then asks Julian if he expects a possible flip within the Phoenix 5 tonight. Julian admits he doesn't know because he thought their dynamic was thick as ever, but it's probably more broken than he thought. Justin then asks Garth if alliances are now adapting based on this assumption that merge is around the corner, and Garth says they definitely are. People are discussing who they can trust going into merge, and they want to focus on taking out the major threats in the game now. Julian then jumps in and says he hopes the 5 Phoenix members don't see him and Garth as threats. They don't have any true allegiance with anyone. They are free agents. Justin then asks David what tonight's vote might mean for the future of this season, and David says it'll show that you can never expect anything to go your way. You always have to have a backup plan, and you need to constantly doubt your safety in the game. Daniela then tells Justin that she thinks they are all ready to vote, and everyone nods in response. Justin then says he'd like to see how things will turn out, so he prepares them all for the vote.
I'll tally the votes. If anyone has a hidden immunity idol and they want to play it, now would be the time to do so. Alright, I'll read the votes. First vote. David. Shelby. That's 1 vote David, 1 vote Shelby. David. Shelby. We're tied, 2 votes David, 2 votes Shelby. David. That's 3 votes David, 2 votes Shelby. Shelby. Tied again. 3 votes David, 3 votes Shelby, 1 vote left. 9th person voted out of Survivor China. David.
Shelby immediately breathes out heavily, and Daniela squints and looks around the tribal. David gets up out of his seat and he wishes his friends luck. Maria meanwhile leans on her hand, unable to look at anyone. Julian looks at Garth and they both smile after the unexpected Phoenix battle. David then places his torch next to Justin, and Justin snuffs the torch. David then waves goodbye to everyone and makes his way out, while Daniela stares at the floor, disappointed by this tribal. Justin then tells everyone to make their way back to camp, so they all begin heading back. Next time on Survivor China, it's the day the game completely changes, where 2 sides finally come together. On day 17, the tribes are finally merging into one. That's right. It's merge time. With 13 people on one tribe, there will be nothing but divisions, chaos, and strategy overload. Make sure you tune in for the merge as it's one of the most tense battles we will ever see. David's final thoughts. David can't believe he got out tonight as he thought there was a solid 4 voting for Shelby last second. He whispered to Roland to vote for her while Daniela whispered to Maria to do the same. In the end, one of them did not follow through, and he can't say for sure who. He'd like to think it was Roland because he had a good relationship with Maria and Daniela this season. They wanted to vote for Shelby because she was ruining the Phoenix Alliance, and clearly they were right because she managed to take him out and split up the Phoenix Alliance. Hopefully Daniela and Maria can make a comeback here. Their best bet is a merge right now to escape this doomed tribe.